In today's episode, we're speaking to Nafeesah Allen. Nafeesah is a trained migration scholar and a multicultural communication expert with over 15 years of governmental expertise. Dr. Nafeesah Allen elevates diverse perspectives into well-researched mainstream editorial content. Her business focus is on ghostwriting, magazine writing, book editing, content, and copywriting for startups, as well as ongoing business writing for venture and private equity firms. Let's speak to Nafeesah and find out how she changed her life by changing her mindset. Let's find out. And if you want to upgrade your money mindset, then remember to click on the link www.millionairefoundations.com and watch my free training. Welcome. This is Gull, your money mindset expert. And today I'm so excited. We have Nafeesah Allen. Welcome.
Hello. Wonderful to be here with you.
Nafeesah, everyone's heard your intro. They know how amazing you are. But please, in your own words, tell everybody what it is that you do.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Nafeesah Allen. I started off originally as a researcher, sort of a migration scholar and an academic, and slowly realized that I had all these other interests in other writing pursuits, and have now launched an editorial business that helps me help clients, from funders and founders to normal readers and magazines, really sort of find diversity and find themselves in the stories that we're telling. So I launched this freelance editorial business a little while ago, and it's become my baby, my proud baby. And with that, that's really what I've been focusing on these last couple of months.
Awesome. So Nafeesah, talk us through, because I mean, we've been working together and I've gone through your journey, but you have so many your hand in so many pies, and you do so many things, and you are a young mother of 2 young children, 1 on the way, and it's been, and you are, you work as a diplomat. It's just, you do so many things. So talk us through your journey. How does a young lass, in America end up, working as a diplomat all over the world and living all over the world and being a bit of a nomad, and still having a property business and having your writing business, and you do so many things, and very successfully, might I add. So talk us through your journey, and how did you become such a successful entrepreneur, and how did you attain the mindset for it?
Yeah, great question. Very big question. But I think it really started, I think like most of us, right, our parents have big dreams for us and push us academically. And, one day you wake up and realize you've got, a very, very long day of academic work. And I think for me, I just really, from a really, really young age, had a lot of really heavy academic schedule, right? Like school followed by sports, followed by clubs, followed by all of these things. And I think I got into expecting that in adult life as well, just expecting that my day would be very, very long, and that, like, if I have any downtime, it's meant to do something productive. So I think since being an adult and really falling into this entrepreneurship space, I realized that probably means I have like ADHD or something, and that's been undiagnosed. I think I probably channeled it well. So it looks like successful multitasking. But yeah, I went into college having already been through a really rigorous like high school experience where I did study abroad and did all of these different things. And I think, while most of my friends were out kind of having fun and partying in college, I was thinking like, well, how can I write? How can I, sort of get into the craft of being a writer? I did internships, I did all sorts of stuff. And when I was in college, I found a fellowship that actually helped me join the Foreign Service rather young. And again, that pace just continued. So I think as I grew in this entrepreneurship space, I realized that, when you go to a job, a 9 to 5, you have all this time after 5 o'clock. And for me, that was like something fun to play with, right? I just thought, okay, well, if I can think of all the things that I was doing before that I kind of put down for my career. So a lot of writing, a lot of creativity, a lot of music, just a lot of the fun, artsy things that I was told, you're never gonna make any money from that, so don't do that. I found the time to really dedicate from, 5 till 8 or 5 till 9 every night, to really push into that. And over time, especially through COVID, because COVID gave us a lot of
Mm.
opportunities because of remote distance, I realized that there was actually a market. Like, people would pay for these things. I had no
Mhm.
clue, and really didn't recognize that there was an entire market for trained, seasoned writers, well researched. Right, I had this PhD sitting on a shelf for a while and didn't know quite what to do with it, and realized, oh my gosh, you can write articles really fast, like faster than anybody else.
Mm.
And so I put all that together to kind of create this freelance editorial business. And it has been fun because, again, it's sort of this asynchronous schedule. It
Mm.
doesn't put me in this box where somebody's waiting for me to, call at 10 a.m. or, be at a desk. And I've been able to just be really diverse about what I produce. So I've done children's books. I've also been able to do magazine articles. I'm working on a full-length book now as well. And I ghostwrite. So it's given me a lot of variety that I think, most people who are in that 9 to 5 box are really craving. But
Mm.
I found the right time in which to do that side by side with a career that really does give me some of the creature comforts, that you need when you've got a small growing family. So that's been my journey of really trying to figure out the best ways to be both in the 9 to 5 space and the entrepreneurship space without burning out.
Oh, so now let's talk us through the mindset, because there's two different mindsets. There's an employee mindset and there's not an entrepreneurial mindset. And you are one of the few people I know who has navigated both in a very
Sure.
balanced manner. So how do you differentiate your role as an employee, as a thought leader in your profession? Because it's a high demanding job of yours.
Absolutely.
And then become an entrepreneur and focus time and energy and have put different hats on to do those tasks, as well as maintaining a young family. I know your husband really supports you still, nevertheless,
Yeah.
you're still the mother. So there's that. As a mom, you never switch off. You're always constantly done this. You're always like, oh, have they eaten? Have they done this? Have they done homework? Have they okay? Are they okay? They're emotionally okay. Is she crying? Is he crying? You have those thoughts constantly in your mind. You can't switch off. How do you navigate between the three, and
Yeah.
especially your mindset? How the two different mindsets? How have you
Yeah.
held the balance? In so much that you've been very successful in both simultaneously, not one after the other, but simultaneously. This is one of the things that most people fail to do, and that's why most people want to give up the corporate job ASAP so they can focus on their entrepreneurial endeavors. Or those people give up the dream of being an entrepreneur because they're too focused on being an employee. So you've done that. Talk us through how do you did that?
Sure. I mean, this has been a work in progress. And I think every day I wake up with never feeling 50-50. Some days it's 60-40, and
Yeah, of
some
course.
days, 70-30. But I had a bit of a rupture with my love for my job at about the 10-year mark. I'd experienced some pretty awful pregnancy discrimination and felt really just disempowered and disinterested and just terribly like, oh, this really isn't for me. And I started to look into, new jobs and, applying to every tech company in sight.
I remember that. I remember
And
that phase.
yes, it was fun and not fun at the same time. Um, and I think what I really realized at that point is that my job and the nature of it is really unique.
Mm.
And I I like this pace of living abroad.
Mm.
So the way that my job works is we rotate. So every 2 to 3 years we go to a new country, but we essentially keep the tenure of our career. So it's not like I'm, starting from zero when I move from one country to another. And again, I tell you, I discovered that I have this like occupational ADD. I need that variety. Like the
Mm.
thought of staying anywhere for 10 years gives me heart palpitations. So I like, and I think I really do crave the consistency of of an employment path that allows me to just be completely recreating myself every 2 to 3 years. It's actually quite entrepreneurial if you lean into it.
Mm.
And I realized that, going to some of the other companies that I was looking at would really put me on a trajectory to constantly be, leaving so many benefits on the table every 2 to 3 years if I wanted to do that. And so
Mm.
I didn't feel comfortable with a young family. I'm a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, putting myself into that sort of a rat race. But what I did realize is that my job does afford a lot of different benefits that if I changed the way I thought about my job, I could really enjoy it. So one of the things you and I really worked on is, of all of the income streams and all of the things that I'm working on, my job can be that foundation, right?
Yeah.
It's not the ceiling, it's sort of the ground floor,
Yeah.
right? And I can find ways to build on top of that and really get some great momentum in my business because I'm not at this place of like desperation to make
Yep.
ends meet. And
Exactly.
so it took a long time to wrap my head around that. But as you said, I also have this, real estate side of my
Mm.
investment portfolio that I never really took quite seriously, but I realized that a lot of that was because I wasn't living in the US consistently. So I could take a big chunk of savings and just, go buy a house and, stay in it for a little while, but then rent it out and then get this income stream from it. It's almost house hacking. But if I was to move back to the US, full time for a job at one of the big tech companies, that entire system would fail.
Mm.
Not that I couldn't reinvent myself, but it would really have to change. And so at some point, I just thought, hey, come to peace with this, right? Your job offers this wonderful opportunity for you and your kids to live abroad, for your husband to travel. It's wonderful. It's exciting. There's a lot of consistent benefits. You're not making $1 million a year, but it is the lifestyle that you really want and cherish and you're good at. Right? I'm really, really good at sort of the comms directing role. And so again, realizing that I didn't have to let my work expand into the weekend. I didn't have to let it expand into the evening hours if I didn't want to. I needed to have some self-control about how much I was giving to that job and the hours. And I realized I could be really efficient during my workday if I really tried. And I could really, again, free up those extra evening hours for all of the things that I wanted to do. And when it comes to home, I have to say, I think I use the same sort of methodology. When I'm abroad, I have the income to have staff at home, right?
Mm.
I have a great nanny. I've had wonderful maids and housekeepers and people who just kind of keep our house running. And I didn't realize until I came back. I'm in the US right now, but I didn't realize until I got back here just how much of that household work really falls on a lot of the women and who are breadwinners or out here working every single day, and the hours after 5 o'clock in the weekends really don't go to anything other than homemaking.
Exactly.
But thankfully when I'm abroad, I can afford that level of care at home, and that puts me in a place where I can really launch my businesses, pay really close attention to the work that I do, and build successful teams around the world, frankly, that understand what I need and can really grow with me. So
Yeah.
being outside of the US has actually helped in many ways.
I'm glad you said that because I know that you've had this opportunity for help outside of US, but I'm sure inside as well. I know that any successful entrepreneur who mentors you, they talk about this all the time, and I do as well, is where you buy back your time. So anything that you can delegate, you should, and not just in professionally, but also in your home, because the home takes up so much of your time. So gardening. I do that in my own. I think I've discussed it quite openly in our bi-weekly Q&As that I have someone who does the windows. I have a window cleaner. I have a gardener. I have someone who does the the cleaning of the house, and I have someone who actually comes sometimes with the ironing and whatever. And if my kids were younger, I would even have someone who comes to help me with as a nanny, because it's something that you buy back time. Not that I don't spend time with my kids, but instead of cleaning up after them, I'd rather spend that time with them, quality time, and I have someone else to help me do the other tasks. This is a concept which is very, very common outside of US and UK. It's very normal in Pakistan or in South Indian or in other countries to have a nanny, to have a cleaner, to have these things. For some reason, it's a very bizarre concept and very foreign concept for places like US and places like US, Canada, or UK, because that seemed to be the elitist. That's like only the rich have those, which makes no sense.
Well, it's expensive. It's super expensive.
Well, I think that
here,
it is in one way it would be, but I always think if I'm paying someone £20 an hour to clean my house, and it will take me 3 hours to clean it at least every day, or at least 5 hours a week, and I'm spending on it, I can pay someone 20 pounds an hour for 3 hours, 5 hours. I was giving them £100, but if my every hour that I spent on it, it's not just the hour that you work, you get exhausted afterwards as well. So you're like, oh, now I'm tired. So for every 1 hour I do work, I'll be an hour resting. So that's like 10 hours of mine gone. If I can use those 10 hours in my business, I'm able to generate at least 5,000 minimum. And right. That's the way you need to think about it. So I'm glad you said that. So, I'm sure you can apply the same principles in the US. You just have to work around it, how to how to balance it, how to work out your hourly rate and say, okay, it's $500. Yeah, maybe not a nanny because you want to spend more time with the kids like a bit older, but definitely for cleaning and other things, you can have someone who can do that, and you can spend time doing other tasks and make money. That's that's the thinking to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing that you mentioned just sort of the energy that goes into the work. Like my entrepreneurial work is a really difficult thing, to tack hours onto my business as a writer.
Because you're thinking about it behind it. You're mulling over the ideas.
Yeah, they don't go off. When you're creative, they wake you up at 2:00 in the morning. They're up at Sunday at 5 a.m. and they're bursting, right? And so there's never really a time when, you sort of talked about this mental load of being a mom. There's also never a time for a creative when that mental load of all the projects you're working on ever goes off. So for me, it's worked really, really well to be sort of in a space where I have people around, again, to just catch the stuff that I miss, right? I don't want to feel like, oh, I left my kid's uniform because I was thinking about, this job. And so having that support system is really helpful. I think, were I to be back in the US, this is extremely hypothetical, I don't think my job would work. I think I'd have to completely reconfigure a lot of different things. Of course my spouse will be working and we have a whole lot of other different things sort of set up, but things are really expensive here. And I do think I would probably feel the pull to really go into the private sector. There's quite a lot more, I think, earning power there. And I do think I've gotten the mindset, again, of controlling my time, being extremely efficient, that I wouldn't worry about that time sort of creeping into my business time anymore, now that I feel like I've got that structure underneath me. But when it comes to, running a business, I think one of the things that I've gotten, really just mindset wrapped around is, I have to do the high value work, right? I have to do that. Everything else, like you said, if it's just, typing up an email, doing some administrative tasks, there are a billion other people in the world who are probably going to do that probably better than me, frankly. And I want to find that person who's going to do it better than me and be more responsive than me. And I will bring them onto my team and they will be worth their salt. But I have to keep that mental space for, that client that needs a tricky issue resolved, or, something really complicated. And so for that, I just always need extra bandwidth. I tell everybody, I'm always working. I'm trying to work at 80%. Like my normal day is around 80%, because there are going to be days when I have to go at 200%. There are going to be weeks when I have to go at 250. And so I just really try to make sure that I'm trying to manage my energy, stay rested, and just not always push myself to the max. And I think in mindset wise, when I was sort of only working on my, day-to-day work, I was given 300% every day at the office. I don't know why, but I had that level of energy. I felt that level of work ethic. I felt like it was the only place I could prove myself and show my worth. And I think I overworked quite a bit. And when I got my business going, I thought, oh my God, number one, I'm a nicer person at work because I'm not exhausted and I'm not pushing everybody beyond their limits. I'm doing, what we're paid to do, but I'm not out here, being the person who's nagging at every single thing. And that, again, that other bit of energy, right? That, other 150 or 200, I've got this creative outlet that I control, I get to decide that, hey, I'm going to do that now, but I'm not going to do it, next week. I've got a lot more control. So I actually think having a business running side by side with my day job has actually made me better at my day job. And I think it's made me extremely efficient at my creative business too, because I sort of have both hats going at the same time. And so it's worked really well for me. And I could understand why, for other people, there might come a time when that balance isn't, the right balance, or, you want to do one more than the other. But for me, it's really been very complementary, especially with young kids.
Wonderful. So on that note, we're going to wrap this up. What's the one piece of advice, Nafeesah, you can give to people listening to this podcast at the moment? Those who are currently employed in the corporate world and are looking to transition over, or those who have transitioned over, have a side business along with a corporate job. What advice would you give to them?
I think you just have to know your personal brand and what you add value in, regardless of where you serve and provide services. Again, it took me a really long time to realize that the things that I was doing at work were things people would pay me, 3, 4, 5, 10 times, as much for outside of my job if I was serving a different type of client. And so now I recognize that I don't have to hold 100% of my, again, work ethic and interest and talents in one bucket, right? I can offer those same services to somebody else who really needs it and really deserves to have access to someone with my level of skill working on their startup or their venture capital firm or whatever that is. And again, I think it's just really important to just know your value and know your worth. So when you're at work, know it there. And when you're running your business and pricing your work and pricing your services, similarly, know your worth there as well.
Wonderful. Fantastic. So Nafeesah, tell us, how can we connect with you? Where can you find you on the internet?
Sure. The best place to find me is my website, nafeesahallen.com. And there you'll see all of my magazine writing as well as my books and how to reach me if you ever need content or strategy help. Otherwise, I'm all over the social medias with Instagram and Twitter at the Blackspat, BLAXPAT.
Wonderful. So if you are listening to us on the podcast, the links and Nafeesah just mentioned would be in the show notes. And if you're watching on YouTube, then down below in the description section, we'll have the links for Nafeesah. Do check her out. She's an awesome writer. I can vouch for that because I've been working with Nafeesah for a while now, and I can definitely recommend her work. If you need any help, do connect with her through all her channels. But thank you so much, Nafeesah, for being such an amazing guest. We have to have you back on Money Talkies, but today, thank you so much for being so open and candid with us.
Thanks, Gull. It's lovely to be here with you.
And thank you for listening to me and Nafeesah today. I will be back with another amazing guest, finding out how they changed their life by changing their mindset. Until the next time we meet, this is Gull Khan signing off. Take care and bye for now.